I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And this is No Lives Matter. A lot of people have been hitting us up to do this song. It came out a day or two ago. It's already got 1 million hits from this guy, Tom MacDonald, which was, he did the one, You So Stupid, or People So Stupid, or something like that. So he just came out with a song called No Lives Matter, which is interesting because Ice-T and his band have a song called No Lives Matter. So I don't know if this is a cover or if it's original or what. He released it a couple days ago, and Death Fan hit me up, the big homie R, who actually got the song done, hit me up. So here you go. I'm assuming it's going to be a little bit political because the last time he did something it was political. For timely topical political commentary, you can hit us up at Middle America with Vin and Sori. A lot of you have been asking me how the big homie DL Beluga is holding up because of our current situation. So you can check that out. If you, dear listener, would have a song that's on your mind that you want us to review and you want to get straight to the head of the line, it's Vin and Sori merch at gmail.com on PayPal. $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You do it 3 times, you get bumped down to the $75 rate, which is what our buddy R actually did. He's on his 4th one now, so he's at 75. Without further ado, Tom MacDonald, No Lives Matter, let's go.
Hip-hop diet is full of guys who cannot even rap.
Facts.
Media dividing us by colors, white or black.
Facts.
If you believe in Jesus, these days Christians get attacked. If
true.
you don't hate police, then everybody thinks you're whack. And everything's so connected. Black Lives Matter got so aggressive. White folks who agree can't support the message. Both sides go to war because they don't respect it. Our social climate from the global tension turned to total violence and a whole depression. We could unify and then I'll go against them, but we let them divide us with votes and elections. Hey, the music we bump, all about shooting guns and doing drugs. Hey, whoa. The things that we want are promoted subliminally through the songs, like you need a fast car, you need designer clothes, you need a rap star to tell you to start popping pills, hit the blunt and go live at the club till you're broke. It's all controlled by the elites, put fake news all over our screens, convincing the right to go fight with the left and distract from the fact it's each other we need. Divided by race and religion, segregated into teams. You a white supremacist. If you're not, I guess you Antifa. Screaming from the rooftops, beat down better. Turn us on each other now, no lives matter. If we do what the news wants, blood gon' splatter. Turn us on each other till no lives matter. Freedom's dead. If you have an opinion, take it back. Facts. People hate the president. If you don't, then you trash. Facts. Indoctrinate the nation using news and mainstream rap. Facts. The government abuses us. It's all part of the plan. Facts. And it's so confusing. Black Lives Matter is a valuable movement, but all lives matter ain't racist or stupid. It's non-black humans who don't feel included. All colors fall under laws to govern the whole country, and we all suffer. We're all broke and nobody recovers until we accept that we're all brothers. Hey, the music we make, all about big booties and getting paid. Hey, whoa. We watch the news and it fills up our brains with violence and riots and race. Like this is a race war. You need to hate more. Get what you came for. You need some songs about Xanax and violence so you can escape more. What a vicious cycle we can't break away from. They control the culture, they control the paper. They're indoctrinating a whole generation till the patriots start to hate the nation. The music we love make us dumb and addicted. The news that we watch is brainwashing the children. The viruses, riots, and racist conditions ain't problems, they're symptoms of life in the system. Woo! Screaming from the rooftops, beat down better. Turn us on each other now, no lives matter. If we do what the news wants, blood gon' splatter. Turn us on each other till no lives matter. The music will make you dumb, the media makes you hate, and they control them both. There ain't no escape. They put the world in a state of chaos, economy crashing and massive layoffs. Black against white or it's left versus right, divide and conquer and control is the payoff. Screaming from the rooftops, beat down better. Turn us on each other now, no lives matter. If we do what the news wants, blood gon' splatter. Turn us on each other till no lives matter.
Gang, gang. I might reach out to the homie. Maybe do an interview with the homie.
He puts out some really good, thought-provoking songs.
He's doing
honest, they're like little quotes. A bunch of little quotes.
He's doing what hip hop is supposed to do, which is social commentary, right? Like Pac is gone. So yeah, I was listening to this. What was the guy's name? Man, my mind has been lack of sleep is catching up with me. KRS-One. He's got like a doctorate in hip hop or whatever, and he was talking about the difference between a rapper and an MC. And an MC's job is to like report what's happening in the streets. Like a rapper is just a rapper. He's just trying to make money. Nothing wrong with that. But an MC is like reporting what's happening in the streets. This dude.
I thought an MC is just a mic coordinator. What?
Yeah, but what we're talking about is like, because there's a term MC, EMCEE, in where MC could also mean master of ceremonies, etc. So, as a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that it doesn't mean mic coordinator. I'm pretty sure MC originally means master of ceremonies. But anyway, in hip hop culture, an MC is a dude that gets on the mic and he's a rapper. Like, I'm the baddest MC, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. But the job of the MC originally in the 80s, the early 80s, was to report what's happening in the streets. Broken glass everywhere. Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying?
So they make raps?
So yeah, they rap, but at the same time, they're saying something about what's happening.
I see.
Broken glass everywhere, you know, da-da-da-da. Whereas a rapper, look, I mean, I'm just trying to get money, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. Right? So, like, Biggie was a rapper, Tupac was an MC. You know, Tupac was doing Dear Mama, Brenda's Got a Baby, he's doing social commentary. Biggie just wants to have his, you know, his alligator shoes and his Cristal and all that, right? But interestingly enough, though, Biggie was also an MC, especially in his first record. It was very, like, talk shit, you get your neck slick quick, because real street niggas ain't having that shit. Anyway, that's one of the reasons why, you know, the drill music in Chicago is so popular, is because it was the first time that you really, where you have people reporting the news, but also being the ones that make the news. Mm-hmm. Whereas before, the MC was kind of like the poet. He wasn't the hard dude in the gang. He was the one that was like the thinker. So like Nas, for example. Nas is never a gangster. Nas is just a poet. Very smart, very articulate brother. So he was able to talk about what was going on with the gangsters. Where Chicago music is like, the shooters are the ones making the raps. Mm-hmm. And that's why they have a very, you know, short expiration date. Because these dudes are literally killing people. Yeah. And dudes are getting out. And rest in peace to King Von. But... so this guy is an MC on like the federal level. This guy is like a federal level MC. Like he's talking about shit from his perspective that he thinks is going on in the world. And he's, you know, I'm not a big like cultural appropriation. No, cultural appropriation. It's like, come on, man. Like it's an art form. Like you cannot trademark an art form.
Oh.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And he's right. I'd rather listen to this guy than who's a cold like Minnesota guy.
Yeah.
I don't know what the guy's name is, but you know, 2/3 of the rap now is just straight trash. Yeah. Straight up, like even like the people that are looked upon as good now. I was like, these guys are not good rappers.
Lil
like,
Yachty.
Yeah, a little bit. Man, like these guys are not good rappers.
Yeah,
like
he said that at the beginning.
I am a better lyricist than like 2/3 of these dudes, and I'm not like, it's just a fact. These guys are, you know, back in the day you hear shit like, oh, you could never do that. Mm-hmm. Like a shit Big Pun used to do is like, Grand Imperial, Stanford material, insane criminal, the same nigga who known to blow out your brain rental, iron subliminal inside your visual, trying to supply your physical with my spiritual side of what's lyric. Like, forget it. Like you would just listen to him like, oh my God. So when he's saying like hip hop died, it's full of guys who can't even rap, like it's true. Like you would listen to stuff on the radio and you'd be like, holy shit, how did he do it? And then you'd go back and you would know that this dude was in a completely different category than you. Uh-huh. Especially in the East Coast where I'm from, like people be like, yo, did you hear what Pun just said? You know, like,
hold on, I'm having a really big contraction right now.
She's having a contraction. Back to the regularly scheduled program. We're back. So he's right. I mean, and the other thing that I found that was strange about current rap culture, he said something about Xanax. He said, you need some songs about Xanax and violence so you can escape more. Mm-hmm. That's true. Like, a lot of these dudes are, like, promoting, like, this pillhead culture. It's weird. And when I was coming up, like, yeah, you had weed. Like, people, you know, they would talk about weed, but they wouldn't, but, like, pills and all that shit, like they were marginalized, especially like hard drugs like crack and all that. Like all those drugs were kind of like demonized.
But it's not like the case. They're not doing that anymore.
Well, no. Now they're promoting like popping Xanaxes and all this stuff. It's weird. It's just a very strange situation. I don't know what's going on with rap. You know what I'm saying? Like
that's actually really scary
it's weird.
because there's like a lot of kids that are influenced by rap. And it like makes them feel cool. Like I'm talking about people that are around like that I've known, and they always felt cool if they knew rap and it, like they
100%.
Like, so like if you're
100%.
talking about Xanax, like it influences people to say, oh yeah, there was that song about it. I'll take some of that.
Yeah. And obviously, you know, it's much easier for the government not to get too conspiracy minded here, but it's a lot easier for the government to control you if you're, you know, hopped up on Xanax. Good night. So this is very, very interesting stuff. Very, very interesting stuff. So he says, Hip Hop died. It's full of guys who can't even rap. That's a fact. It's a fact. I mean, it's just a fact. Like, there are no big puns anymore, like, that are going to go out and do. I mean, J. Cole, you got those guys, but the most popular dudes are, like, either terrible rappers. Who was the Cole, like, Minnesota guy?
Lil Yachty.
Lil Yachty, he's terrible. He's just a bad rapper, period. And and then you have other guys like rest in peace to King Von, but he wasn't really that good of a lyricist. I mean, he was alright. Like at the lunch table,
I was like,
at the lunch table, he'd have been like, yeah, he's alright. You know what I'm saying? But he wasn't like nobody. Like I've never listened to anything from Von. Like, oh, whoa, I can't believe you said that. Whoa, that's really good wordplay.
So
he's right.
He caught up to really
media dividing us by colors, white or black. Yeah, I have a very, very, like, it is easy for a white person to say that the media is dividing us. But the country was started by that type of division.
Yeah.
When Mr.
So if he would have said they continue to divide us,
well, that
would have been better for you?
Yeah, the media is not, but look, it's not the media's job to bridge the divide. That's not the media's job. But
when you have people like Tucker Carlson saying the bullshit that he said that was straight out lies,
right.
Then it's like, okay, you're obviously trying to add to this divide.
Yes. Well, here's what's happened. Like, because of a lot of this.
What was the name of that show? Your Middle America one on that?
What, the Tucker Carlson one?
Yeah.
I don't know if I converted it to a Middle America video. We did that on a Facebook video in a completely different forum.
What?
But I've done a couple exposés of Tucker Carlson before, and all his disciples went crazy. And then I did another one from the YouTube guy. He didn't know what he was talking about. Everybody had a conniption about it. But, you know, I don't care because he was wrong. Mm-hmm. But what's happened? There's a couple things that happen with the media, right? And you know, once again, capitalism is a boogie monster. I'd actually like to talk to him about this if we end up getting an interview with the guy. But the 24-hour news cycle created the necessity for a personality-driven media.
Yeah.
Because now we're reporting 24/7 and everybody's reporting on this. So Fox is reporting, MSN, all these people are reporting on the same story. So why should I listen?
Yeah.
Why should I listen to you, right? So when I was coming into his post 9/11, it was O'Reilly. So, you know, it was O'Reilly, he had the O'Reilly factor, and he had this attitude about him, and he just started giving out opinions, and Rachel Maddow, she was like the answer, and so the media became an entertainment, about entertainment as much as it was about information. And initially, it's like, well, okay, that's capitalism, and it makes news fun, so hey, let's do it. But then it's now become extremely dangerous. Because now, it's gone from, you know, Tucker Carlson is an entertaining guy to hear the news from, to Tucker Carlson is saying that they're going to teach your kids to hate themselves and yada, yada, yada. So now, people are taking what he's saying as gospel truth.
Yeah.
And now, you know, God bless him, but, you know, when the whole Russiagate thing happened and what's-her-face was talking about how Trump was going to, Putin was going to freeze us out, we're all going to freeze to death in Fargo.
Yeah.
And I made an offhand comment about it on Middle America, and I kid you not, I'm not even going to do it because I don't want to embarrass a person. Somebody was like, you idiot, you know, they could freeze us out and we could die, and like, woo-hoo, crazy, right? So that's what ended up happening is the media, you know, became personality driven because of the 24-hour news cycle. Mm-hmm. And then it went from that to becoming extremely dangerous. and there's nobody to hold them accountable.
Right.
Because the only thing that matters to all these people is ratings.
Yeah, but do you kind of think that that's going to fade itself out, the media?
Nope.
Really? Even with YouTube?
No, because Tucker Carlson is still massively popular. I mean, then you have Jimmy Dore and all those other guys.
I feel like that's a dying thing. I feel like that, like, our generation and the generation behind us have less and less respect for Fox News and CNN and...
Yeah, I just don't think that that's going to happen.
Really?
No, because, I mean, you've got a show like Rising, and Rising is, I think, probably doing the best job at just trying to be the media. But again, it's colored. The whole point of Rising is to say, this is a left winger, this is a right winger, can they meet in the middle? That's the entire dynamic of the show. So, I understand the dynamic, but it's still not just raw reporting the news at 11.
Yeah.
It's news with a certain type of spin and commentary to it.
Yeah.
So I don't think once you've opened that Pandora's box, because one thing Americans love, it's to be entertained. So once you've opened that Pandora's box, I think it's impossible for it ever to get anywhere else, right? And so the only hope that you have is some of these news people feeling some sort of obligation to bridge the divide. And so that's the only way that we can get there. But Tucker's not doing that anytime soon, because his whole shtick is to create that divide. And same thing for left-wing media, or whatever you want to call MSNBC or CNN.
That's so terrible.
It's out and blatant that's what they're doing. So yeah, people go to alternative media, but even alternative media is completely biased. So, I mean, but you know, this whole concept that the media is the reason for the divide between white and black people is something I've only heard white people say. Or people like Candace Owens, who doesn't really count. Look, we've got a history of racism in this country. Malcolm X and Dr. King were not around 150, 200 years ago. We're talking about the 1960s and the 1970s. And when the FBI releases who was responsible for the death of Dr. King next year, then, you know, we can continue to talk. Rodney King happened in my lifetime, in the early 90s. So this idea that the media is responsible, that black people and white people would just get along, everybody would just get along and went for the media, is complete bullshit.
Yeah.
But I'm not mad at him for saying that, because his experience is, as a white person, he obviously loves black culture, obviously. So he's looking at himself like, hey, I ain't no racist. And he thinks everybody's like him. Everybody's not like you, Tom MacDonald. And it's not true that the media is responsible for dividing us by colors. That would be called, that was the U.S. government, which our newest president, by the way, Mr. Biden, was in favor of. He was in favor of segregation in the busing.
Yep. Yes, he was.
And when his vice president interrogated him for it, his response was to give literally the response of the racist in the 60s and the 70s, which was, I am not against integration, I was against forced integration, which is literally what they were all saying. So, no, I don't agree with that. I don't believe, but maybe he's not media dividing us by colors, white or black. It's just not true. The government did. The U.S. government divided us by colors. With the Three-Fifths Compromise, the U.S. government did it with the Tuskegee experiments. Joe Biden did it with the busing things and saying he didn't want to inherit a racial jungle. The LAPD did it when you had sheriff's departments, entire sheriff's departments that had to get shut down because they were infiltrated with skinheads.
Yep.
Tom, that's not the media. Media didn't do that. Holy moly. But I understand from his perspective, because he thinks that most people are like him.
Yeah.
Because most people think that most people are like that. So because he's a lover of hip hop, and he's been immersed in black culture, whatever, he thinks everybody's like him, and the only real divide is the media. And I would just disagree with that. I know that's not true. If you believe in Jesus these days, Christians get attacked. It's true. Christians do get attacked. But I gotta tell you, we're pretty out and out Christians on this forum, and we're not enough on the surface, a friendly environment.
Yeah.
Like, the metal community is not supposed to be a friendly environment for Christians. We went to a Behemoth...
But it has been.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
We went to a Behemoth show, and Nergal recognized us in the crowd, and he stopped what he was doing, and he gave a little 45-minute little speech about us and told 45-second, good God. 45-second little speech about us and told everybody to buy us a beer and all that. So... I'm not particularly certain that there's real persecution in America against Christians. I think that because the vocal members of the Christian community in America have almost universally aligned themselves with Donald Trump, who's an extremely problematic person to align yourself from a Christian worldview. I'm not even talking about necessarily his politics. I'm just talking about the fact that America has observed Christians having a conniption fit over Bill Clinton, and rightly so because of his indiscretion with Ms. Lewinsky. But then you got a guy on Twitter insulting a woman who he paid to have sex with. And he's calling her horse face and all this other stuff. And the Christian community is just, oh yeah, that's okay. Yeah, it's okay. It's fine. But you crucify Bill Clinton. So, of course, when people observe that, and they observe us being in bed with a guy like Donald Trump, figuratively and literally to some degree, that of course people are going to say, you guys are the people that support this dude. And do I think that Donald Trump, that how evil he is has been exaggerated? Absolutely. But he's still an evil guy. And he still said some horrific things that I cannot imagine my daughter being called that by the most powerful man in the world with 50 million Twitter followers. And Christians allowed him to do that, and there was no accountability for him whatsoever, and there were all their excuses lined up, and yada, yada, yada. You got all these then you got freaking Paula White talking about angels from Africa.
That's surprising because we've said it before that when you look at I'm not speaking for all evangelical culture, but there's a lot of it where they're misogynistic and they don't treat women with the respect that we should have.
Facts.
And so it's not surprising that they reacted that way.
But yeah, I get that. But we were going crazy about Bill Clinton.
Oh.
You weren't politically conscious at that time, but I was.
Well, I heard plenty about Clinton, actually.
Character matters and blah, blah, blah. And Bill Clinton was also a horrible person. They're both horrible people, but the way we reacted to Clinton and the way we reacted to Trump... I
heard more negative about Monica than I did about Clinton.
Well, yeah, from your little subculture, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But... I remember all the Christian, gatekeepers and stuff were going after, Bill Clinton and all this, and he had to apologize 50 million times. But, Trump was completely okay. So, of course, people are going to go after us for that. Of course.
Yeah.
If you don't hate police and everybody thinks you're whack.
I guess that depends on which friends you have, because I got a bunch of people on my feed that if you say anything about the police, they tell you to get off their Facebook.
Right.
So it really depends on the crew.
Yeah. Obviously, he doesn't mean everybody. I think what he means is everybody in the hip-hop subculture that he's part of. Because it's sort of like you have to say that you hate police. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to say that in the black community. So when Kanye goes out and meets with Trump or whatever... He, or Ice Cube was saying, like, all these people, or Lil Wayne was saying, like, he's never experienced racism with the police. Everybody gets angry because we're so tribalistic now that nobody's able to have their own opinion about something. They have to go with what the party line is. So that, I agree with him for sure. Everything's so connected. Black Lives Matter got so aggressive. White folks who agree can't support the message. Both sides go to war because they don't respect it. Again, that to me seems like an unnuanced understanding.
I agree.
This is the whole, mishmashing BLM with the Antifa idiots who were destroying property.
Yeah, and the thing is, the whole thing, I feel like he's coming from, a genuine place, and that's the way he's doing it. But I think that, if Black Lives Matter was behind Cap kneeling, then they would have had a problem with that. They had a problem with that. So it's not, you know what I'm saying?
Who's they?
White people. Like the white people that are against Black Lives Matter, white people that are against, like there are some people that like, it's not about the aggressiveness that BLM is doing. It's just, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it.
Yeah, again, I don't think it's, I don't think the divide is necessary white or black. I think it's between right or left, or Democrat or Republican. I really do. Republicans have to follow a certain party line. So even if they see something wrong with the way that policing is done in America, they can't say it. And it's the same thing for people on the left, supposedly. Like, you're not allowed, what I will say is that we've kind of done it to ourselves, but the media, with our help, has bifurcated, the American landscape into left, then they have this set of beliefs, and right, and they have this set of beliefs, and there's no nuance whatsoever. So white folks who agree can't support the message, and that's because of all the, the destruction of property and things like that. And it's a very, very nuanced situation. Like, number one, the riots came in the context of COVID, where people were staying home from work and had no sort of financial security, so everybody's amped up. Two, you have elements that are violent, like Antifa, that have explicitly been violent. Three, you have elements like BLM, who, to your point, were consistently trying to have a peaceful, non-violent message since CAP, and they were summarily dismissed by the president, who called them all SOBs. And four, historically speaking, black people in this country, look, I challenge people to look into it. Go ahead and look into it. Look into the Holy Week uprising. Dr. King was trying to get more civil rights laws passed for 4 years. White folk didn't listen to him. He got assassinated. And then folks started to riot. And then Mr. Johnson deployed the National Guard. And then Mr. Johnson later decided that he was going to sign that bill that Dr. King was working so hard for 4 years peacefully for. So if you don't have a historical context to how we got here, and if you're not looking at all the players, then you're going to end up saying stuff like this. And an average white person doesn't know all this stuff. Average black person doesn't know all this stuff.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, there's a lot of people on the left and the right who don't want to look at that nuance. I've said so many times, I've got video footage of black people telling white Antifa people, stop tearing up these buildings. They're gonna blame us. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So this is one of those situations where I'm like, yeah, man, I get it. I see what you're saying from your simplistic point of view, but there's a lot of nuance here that you're missing. And I think he's being very good-natured in the situation, and of course I've got a vested interest in looking at all the different players, and you know what I'm saying?
Well, I prefer the simplistic world.
Yeah.
It's so much simpler.
Yeah. Turn to total violence and a whole depression. We could unify and then all go out against them, but we let them divide us with votes and elections. Yeah. I mean, I agree with that, for sure. The music we bump is all about guns and shooting drugs and doing drugs. Shooting guns and doing drugs. That's also true. Especially Chicago drill music. Which is, again, rest in peace to King Von. But, I mean, we're the only people that create art forms that celebrate our own self-destruction, black people.
Yeah, it's really bizarre.
It's unbelievable stuff. The things that we want are promoted subliminally through the songs, like you need a fast car, you need designer clothes, you need a rap star to tell you to start popping pills, hit the blunt and go live at the club till you're broke. Go live at the club till you're broke. Yeah, it's controlled by the elites, put fake news all over our screens. Convincing the right to go fight with the left and distract from the fact it's each other that we need, divided by race and religion, segregated into teams. You're a white supremacist. If not, I guess you're Antifa. That was good. That was really good. So many times I'll say something that's like, no, this thing about Trump isn't true. He did this. He did this well. Oh, you.
I know.
Then I'll say, hey, Trump did this thing bad. Oh, you've gone liberal.
Yeah.
Well, it's so completely simplistic in our country right now. It's very profitable for news agencies. But holy moly, on the ground, it becomes extremely difficult to communicate, because I am not going to preface everything I say by saying I am not a Trump supporter, but on this particular situation, I'm not doing that. And conversely, I'm not going to say, I am not a Biden supporter, but he did well here. Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm not going to. But you almost have to qualify everything you say because they've made the world so simple that people are automatically going to jump to those conclusions.
Yeah. Yep.
So, but the whole Black Lives Matter got so aggressive. Like, he doesn't mention why they got aggressive if they got aggressive. And it's because Mr. Trump, along with Mr. Goodell and a whole slew of other people with institutional power, refused to listen to them. BLM has been around since Trayvon Martin.
Right.
So if you don't rightly diagnose the chains of reactions that got us to a certain point, then you're never gonna solve the problem.
I just wish that people would be more honest and really look at situations, because you'll hear this stuff like, what were people saying about if Trump didn't get in, and like this is a reason for them to go to war, like, or something like that. Like,
what happened?
Like 2 days ago you were telling me about like people were coming out and saying, I'm pretty sure it was that if Trump doesn't get in, then this is something that they should go to war over.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, if Trump doesn't get in, then people should die. But like literally you're killing people's children and husbands and wives, and people shouldn't be upset about that. Like, so they went after somebody's store or something. Like, I don't, like, obviously if there's another way, then yeah, take the other way. But they tried the other way. They tried to kneel on everybody. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I just wish that people were more honest with the situation and say, you know what? If it was you and it was your people that were getting killed, or it was your family that could potentially be just struck down just because of the color of their skin, then you would have a different take on it. Which is why, when the Trump thing affects them, they're like, well, we're gonna have to get on our guns.
Well, we saw how these people reacted in Michigan. Not when they were being killed by governors, but when the governor said you can't go out because of COVID, they stormed the Capitol with their rifles. And see, this is a thing that's missing in this song. Is like there's no criticism of those types of movements, those militia movements and things like that. There's no criticism. Only criticism's going one way, which is fine. Because he can only speak from his experience and how he's perceiving the world. It doesn't make him a bad person, but it does, like for example, Black Lives Matter is a valuable movement, but all lives matter ain't racist or stupid. It's non-black humans who don't feel included. That is ridiculous.
I agree.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
I agree.
It's like in the NFL every I think it's like every 12th week there's like a fight cancer thing.
Yeah.
So guys will wear pink cleats and there's pink this and pink that. It's like we have a cancer crisis in our country. So it'd be ridiculous for an AIDS patient to say, "Oh well, like it's just so," or like somebody that comedian guy a couple days ago, he said on 9/11 I'm gonna wear a shirt that says "All buildings matter." Like what a ridiculous But statements like this, I'm like, okay, this person is not listening to what is being said.
Yep.
Because here's the thing, Tom, and if we get a chance to talk, I'd love to have a discussion. It's good that certain people are excluded from the necessity of saying that their lives matter. That's a good thing. The reason people are saying Black Lives Matter is because whatever you think, there is a perception in this country that we believe that our lives do not matter to certain elements in this country. So when two white folks chase down a guy and shoot him, and as he's bleeding out, he hears "fucking nigger," and then the DA sees the video and then calls the mother and says, "Yeah, your son was involved in an attempted robbery." Lie. Come pick up his dead body. Even though he saw the video. And there was no charges. He initially didn't want to file charges. Same thing with Trayvon. People don't know this. George Zimmerman got sent home that night. He didn't get arrested that night. There were protests that instigated him getting arrested. So the very fact that you're not included, if you were listening to people when they were saying Black Lives Matter, you would be happy that you were not included in that situation, because that would mean that there's no concerted effort to kill you. So Look, is all lives matter racist or stupid? I think if you're saying, I don't think it's either or. I just think it's you're not listening. You're not listening to what people are saying. And again, this comes from the assumption that the only reason there's a racial divide is because of the media. That's not true. You're just not listening. It's the same thing with Cap. You know, Cap wasn't saying fuck the American flag. When Cap was kneeling, he was kneeling because, and I've gone over this a million times, I'll do it again. Kaepernick was kneeling because a Green Beret wrote an open letter to him because he was originally sitting. And the Green Beret said, look, bro, I see what you're doing, and I fought for the right for you to express yourself. How about you kneel? Because when one of our guys goes down in our ceremonies, we kneel.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Cap said, oh, that's a good idea. So he kneels. And Tucker Carlson and the rest of the right-wing idiots, instead of listening to what Cap was saying, this guy hates America, he hates America, anybody who kneels hates America, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And then you got riots a couple years later. So there's that, right? So, like, if we're not listening to each other, it triggers these kinds of situations. It sets things off to get us to the point where you do have bad actors like Antifa. And I've been consistent about this. I've consistently spoke out against Antifa. But then you also get groups like the Not Fucking Around Committee. These dudes are walking around, these black soldiers are walking around with automatics and all that shit, and you could have a burgeoning civil war on tap here because people won't listen to each other.
I just think I feel like it's people denying the obvious too when they were trying to make it look like him kneeling was like this horrible, horrible thing. Like he could have been standing with his fingers up in the air toward the flag. You know what I mean?
That's what I would
like
have done.
The fact that he was kneeling. We've always seen kneeling as a sign. When has kneeling not been a sign of respect
and submission?
Yeah.
Right. That's why I said, like, I wouldn't have knelt if I was Cap.
Yeah.
I said, Mr. Boyer, thank you very much. I appreciate it. But I'm not going to go to you to tell me how I'm supposed to protest.
Yeah.
You are an agent of the system that I'm protesting against. Why the fuck would I listen to you? No, make no fucking sense.
Yep.
And if you didn't realize by now, it doesn't fucking matter what you do, how respectful you are. These people are not going to listen to you. And I don't see anybody on that other side holding people accountable to fucking listen to people. It's non-black humans who don't feel included. Like, am I supposed to feel sorry for white people? Like, like what are you talking about? Mr. MacDonald? Mr. MacDonald! There is no need for a White Lives Matter rally, Mr. MacDonald. Because, look, hey, listen, when any of you, because I know Randy, MDef fan, if any of you can show me a video where two black people run down a white guy, blow him away, call him a fucking cracker, and then the black DA reviews the video and does nothing, then I'll say we need to have a White Lives Matter. Just show me one incident where that happened. One. Now I can show you hundreds of incidents like that in American history, Emmett Till, etc., etc. But we're not even going to do that. Show me one instance where two black guys can hunt down a white guy, kill him on camera, say fucking cracker, and then the DA can watch it and then call the parents of the white person and lie and say that he was involved in a robbery. Go find me that one, then we can talk. Ridiculous. If you're a non-black human that doesn't feel included in Black Lives Matter, then, you know, I pity you. All colors fall under laws that govern the whole country and we all suffer. That's not true. All colors do not fall under laws that govern. Mr. MacDonald, the blue color has a different set of laws. If a blue person believes that their life is in danger, they can kill someone. And if they can prove that they were afraid that their lives are in danger, they can get off scot-free. If a black person did that to a blue person, there would be no contest. So no, we do not fall under all laws that govern. That's untrue. The whole country and we all suffer. I agree with that. We're all broke and nobody recovers. That's also true. Until we accept the fact that we're all brothers. That's also true. And that's, you know, that's the point of the protest, right? The point of the protest is to say, I'm your brother. You shouldn't want to kill me.
Yeah.
And you should value my death as much as anybody else's death. The music we wait, all about big booties and getting paid. That's true. We watch the news and fills up our brains with violence and riots and race. You know, this is something where I was just watching something by this guy. This guy his name is Lil Baby. And it was a really, really good song.
Really?
It was a really, really good song. Yeah, that's probably the song that we should actually review later. Because I'll probably... or I might do one myself, but he did a song called, forgot the name of it, but it was a really, really, it's this one right here. The name of the song is The Bigger Picture, and we should probably, I don't know, I might do it myself because you look like you're suffering right now, but Lil Baby's song, The Bigger Picture, to me is a more balanced approach to the whole situation. But he's right, in hip-hop, you've got one of the greatest platforms of all time, and we're putting out cold like Minnesota and all this bullshit in the middle of a crisis. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. It's true because it's so influential toward the younger generation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, more than just the younger, but it definitely influences the younger. So if you stopped singing about Xanax and instead we're singing about what actually matters and getting those ideas into the minds of the young, then that's going to change the future.
Mm-hmm. They control the culture, they control the paper, they're indoctrinating a whole generation till the patriots start to hate the nation. Whoa, it's a good line.
Yeah.
It's a good line. Because you got these hardcore right wingers who call themselves patriots, but they hate half the country. It's like, how can you be a patriot if you hate half of America? And I'm not even talking about just under racial lines. I think the modern sort of militia guy has less hatred in his heart for a black person than they do somebody with a liberal ideology. Like, they hate these people. And so it's like, how can you call yourself a patriot and you're tooling up and you're ready to kill your own fellow Americans? Like, that's crazy to me, bro. That's a very, very good line. I don't know if that's what he meant, but that's true. The music we love makes us dumb and addicted. The news that we watch is brainwashing the children. That's true. That is very true. Which is one of the reasons why, like, you know, we're around them when they're ingesting that media. The virus is riots and racist conditions. The virus is riots and racist conditions ain't problems, they're symptoms of life in this system. I don't really see what the difference is, but I can rock with it. Screaming from the rooftops turned us on each other, now no lives matter. If we don't do what the news wants, blood gonna splatter. Yeah, I mean, I think that the media definitely has a role in it. You know, I was talking to Peter, and Peter, they just went through hell over there in Vienna, you know, where he's from. And I think they did a pretty good job. And also New Zealand did a pretty good job. There was an active shooter guy about a year ago, and New Zealand's president wouldn't name the person.
Yeah.
She would only name like the folks that died, and they would talk about the folks that died. They didn't even give the guy a name.
Yeah.
Whereas Americans are gonna, you know, we love that shit. Oh, I put it on there. Oh, this person died. Oh yeah, this person got shot. You know, whatever. And I don't think the media loves it in the sense of they love seeing Americans die, but they also understand it's going to jack up their ratings. And because you cannot extricate yourself, it's a bad situation. So all in all, this guy is definitely a gifted rapper. I agree with a lot of his social commentary, but again, a lot of his commentary is from a given perspective. It's from a certain perspective, and it's from a certain lived experience. That's what he genuinely believes, that if it wasn't for the media, we wouldn't have such a deep racial divide. He genuinely believes that.
Yeah, I don't agree with everything that he said, but at the same time, I appreciate the fact that he's trying to say we need to be unified.
Right.
You know?
Right. And in any situation, right. I love that. Because in any situation, when you're having these conversations, I cannot, and I never will understand what it's like to be an LGBT person. You know, me and Sailor were having this discussion. You know, when I was telling stories about what changed me as far as how I approach LGBT people. And it was, you know, one of my best friends at work like a decade ago, and he was talking about how, and he came up in like the 70s, so there was no like and you know, he was graduating, and they announced his name as Michael Fagg in a graduation. So here's this kid.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So that's
adults that do that, isn't it?
What?
Who does the announcement? That's
yeah. And the entire auditorium, and this is a kid who, it's like, you know, it's because, so when I hear, you know, a gay person say, using the term fag is like using the term nigger. A lot of black folks get offended by that, because like, listen, motherfucker, you know, there's a whole, but at the same time, I'm like, wait a second, the whole fucking auditorium, on the day you're supposed to be the proudest for your accomplishments, his entire life now, so I'm like, I can't say, okay, historically I can say there's a vast difference between the term nigger and the term faggot. I get it. But at the same time, that guy's lived experience, I don't know what that's like. Because the fact of the matter is, if somebody would have said, Vincent Niggerdom or whatever, half the school would have been on that motherfucker. He would have been fired, whatever. That's just a fact. So, the black community is horrible with this when it comes to LGBT people. You cannot say that. You can't say it's nothing like the N-word. You can't say that. I understand it historically, and believe me, there's no greater lover of my people than me. But at the same time, look at this dude's lived experience. Yeah. Or when you look at your trans friends, and like, there was one, you know, Tina used to put, I'm glad she doesn't do it anymore, like she would update every time a trans person went missing or ended up getting murdered. And there was one stretch where I swear to God, it was like every other day. And I was like, and now, you know, our community has, but so I'm like, I'm thinking about like people that we know and that we talk to that you just take for granted that you're going to talk to. I'm like, oh shit, this person, like, and a lot of that shit is in the black community, because the black community is horrible with LGBT people. So if I would have wrote a song about relating to LGBT people 10, 15 years ago, it would be vastly different from now, because I'm like lockstep with these people. And now I'm seeing the nuances of how that works, right? And how, what their experience. 10 years ago, I wouldn't have been a bad person, but the song would have been just completely different. Because now that I'm close friends with these people, now I'm seeing the world through their eyes.
Oh yeah.
Or that I loved Mike. Like I loved Mike with all my heart. Like, you know, there was a guy who shared the same hotel room.
I remember, yeah.
Like, and you know, people with, you know, like there was one time we had to fire somebody and the guy threatened Mike, and I was like, yo, bro, like, no, I loved it. Like, you know how I am when I love people. Like, that was my guy. So when he told me that story, man, I was just kind of like, I used to drive him home. He told me that story, and I was like, and he's a funny guy, you know. A lot of LGBT people are funny people because that's how they get through that shit. And he told me that story like a decade ago. At this day, it still
yeah,
still hurts, because we went to you know, that girl we baptized or whatever. Like, we went to her graduation, and like, I never went to my graduation. So, like, I never, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't, the whole build. But then when I was there, I was like, oh, okay, I get this. I understand why people are doing this ceremony. Like, this is celebrating. These kids just went through a whole bunch of shit. And I was like, so much anticipation for when they were going to say Chloe's name. And like, the entire reason all of us, we were deep. We were like 20, you were up, you know, gone, yeah. We were like 20 deep there, like, because we were part of our church group, whatever. And like, when her name came out, we was like, yeah, Chloe, go ahead, Chloe. And she's like, Jesus Christ is king. And I'm like, wow. Like, so then I think about Mike now. I'm like, holy shit. Like, wow, bro. Yeah. So like, he's saying things from his lived experience, and he's looking at the world, I think, in a very genuine way. And he's not trying to. He's saying we got to come together. And I think like that's where he's coming from. But I just think that there's you know, an oversimplistic sort of, you know, diagnosis of a few issues. But at the same time, this is a very risky song to make. But at the same time, I would have liked to have seen more criticism on both sides, more explicit criticism on both sides.
Probably doesn't realize there is.
There's a lot of
probably feels like he did a fair job at it. You know what
There's a lot of shit to talk about. People freaking out about statues. Why do you want those statues up? Like, I'm sure if he thought about it again, like, you know, like there's a whole bunch of shit that he could have said. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I still think that it was, because look, his constituency initially is going to be people that listen to hip hop, and hip hop generally has one understanding, one interpretation of the last 4 or 5 years. Although there's been a lot of M. Def fan type people, Randy type people who are like, yes, okay, because it's kind of like almost like a blackface type of thing where it's like, oh, you know, there's a lot of like levels of irony, and they love hearing that shit because they think they live in a very simple world. I love M. Def fan to death, but the world he lives in is extremely simple. You know what I'm saying? And it's conveniently simple. You know what I mean? So, on the one hand, he'll say that those Michiganders had complete right to go storm a Capitol with guns blazing, talking about death. I mean, these people were saying death to the globalists, and they were talking about death to the globalists, and they all had their own, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, okay. We couldn't talk about that, Tom? Like, really? Okay. And definitely like, yeah, that's right, freedom, Second Amendment, blah blah blah. But then, you know, Kaepernick is horrible, and BLM is horrible, and they hate America, or whatever. But these people are going after a duly elected American governor, calling for her death, but they're okay. You know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, shout out to the big homie. He did a really, really good job, I think. I'm gonna give this a 9.8. I gotta give it a 9.5. If it was a little bit more balanced, then it would have been a 10, because you could have said he came for everybody's head. It seemed kind of one-sided to me. But the ultimate message was, he said something like, "We need each other," or something like that. And I think that's important. And
unity, but
he also you know, gave some good criticisms for hip-hop culture, which is actually very, very destructive and counterproductive to any sort of black agenda in the first place. So, really, really good song. Now I understand why Brother Randy and Brother M. Def fan loved it so much. Go ahead, what do you got?
It's 9.8 for me.
Yeah, he did a really, really good job.
Yeah.
Shout out to the homie. But yeah, I'm gonna reach out to the brother and see, hey, let's have a conversation. Let's talk this through. Because I think it'd be cool. But he did a good job. All right, there you go. And Sori's been looking like she's in horrible pain, and that's because she's having labor. She's 39 weeks along now, so it's anytime, big homie, you want to show up, that'd be great. So that is complete dedication, ladies and gents. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.
I'd go to war because they don't respect it. Our social climate from the global tension turned to total violence and a whole depression. We could unify and then I'll go against them, but we let them divide us with votes and elections. Hey, the music we bump, all about shooting guns and doing drugs. Hey, whoa, the things that we want are promoted subliminally through the songs, like you need a fast car, you need designer clothes, you need a rap star to tell you to start popping pills, hit the blunt and go live at the club till you're broke. It's all controlled by the elites, put fake news all over our screens, convincing the right to go fight with the left and distract from the fact it's each other we need. Divided by race and religion, segregated into teams. You a white supremacist. If you're not, I guess you Antifa. Screaming from the rooftops, beat down better, turn us on each other now, no lives matter. If we do what the news wants, blood gon' splatter, turn us on each other till no lives matter. Freedom's dead. If you have an opinion, take it back. Facts. People hate the president. If you don't, then you trash. Facts. Indoctrinate the nation using news and mainstream rap. Facts. The government abuses us. It's all part of the plan. Facts. And it's so confusing. Black Lives Matter is a valuable movement, but all lives matter ain't racist or stupid. It's non-black humans who don't feel included. All colors fall under laws that govern the whole country, and we all suffer. We're all broke and nobody recovers until we accept that we're all brothers. Hey, the music we make, all about big booties and getting paid. Hey, whoa. We watch the news and it fills up our brains with violence and riots and race. Like this is a race war. You need to hate more. Can get what you came for. You need some songs about Xanax and violence so you can escape more. What a vicious cycle we can't break away from. They control the culture, they control the paper. They're indoctrinating a whole generation till the patriots start to hate the nation. The music we love make us dumb and addicted. The news that we watch is brainwashing the children. The viruses, riots, and racist conditions ain't problems, they're symptoms of life in the system. Screaming from the rooftops, beat down better. Turn us on each other now, no lives matter. If we do what the news wants, blood gon' splatter. Turn us on each other till no lives matter. The music will make you dumb, the media makes you hate, and they control them both. There ain't no escape. They put the world in a state of chaos. Economy crashing and massive layoffs. Black against white or it's left versus right. Divide and conquer and control is the payoff. Screaming from the rooftops, beat down better. Turn us on each other now, no lives matter. If we do what the news wants, blood gon' splatter. Turn us on each other till no lives matter. Hip-hop diet is full of guys who cannot even rap. Facts. Media dividing us by colors, white or black. Facts. If you believe in Jesus, these days Christians get attacked. Facts. If you don't hate police, then everybody thinks you're whack. And everything's so connected. Black Lives Matter got so aggressive. White folks who agree can't support the message. Both sides go to war because they don't respect it. Our social climate from the global tension turned to total violence and a whole depression. We could unify and then I'll go against them, but we let them divide us with votes and elections. Hey, the music we bump, all about shooting guns and doing drugs. Hey, whoa. The things that we want are promoted subliminally through the songs like, you need a fast car, you need designer clothes, you need a rap star to tell you to start popping pills, hit the blunt and go live at the club till you're broke. It's all controlled by the elites, put fake news all over our screens, convincing the right to go fight with the left and distract from the fact it's each other we need. Divided by race and religion, segregated into teams. You a white supremacist. If you're not, I guess you Antifa. Screaming from the rooftops, beat down better. Turn us on each other now.